Today we are going to discuss the section of quinolones. But before starting the actual section, let's discuss some important basics for overall antibiotics section. The heterocyclic rings. Now, when the first and third carbon atom of benzene ring is replaced by nitrogen atom, the heterocyclic ring which is generated is known as the pyrimidine ring. Here is the structure where the first position and third position is occupied by nitrogen atom. Now, these pyrimidine are the bases. The pyrimidine bases which are present in DNA and RNA are the thymine, cytosine and uracil. I hope you are able to recall which pyrimidine base is present in RNA and which one in DNA. Now, after the pyrimidine, what will be the next? The next will be the purine ring. Now, what happens when the fourth and the fifth position of pyrimidine is attached with the imidazole ring? The structure obtained is known as the purine ring. There are two purine bases which are present in our nucleic acid structure. Those are the adenine and guanine. Okay. So, these are the examples of purine and pyrimidine with their structures. Now, both this purine and pyrimidine are collectively called as the nitrogen bases. Now, when this nitrogen base covalently combines with the sugar molecule, the structure generated is known as the nucleoside. Okay, there is a difference between purine, the nucleoside and nucleotide. Both are the different things. Okay. What is meant by nucleoside? Nucleoside is the structure obtained when any nitrogen base is covalently linked with the sugar molecule. That structure is known as the nucleoside. Now, the next point will be the nucleotide. When the nitrogen base, sugar and 1, 2 or 3 phosphate groups attach together, the structure obtained is known as the nucleotide. The building block of DNA and RNA are considered the nucleoside. So let's discuss first what is meant by RNA. There are 3 types of RNAs which are presented on your screen. Now, what is the difference between RNA and DNA? RNA is the single strand of nucleotides. Okay, in this the sugar present is oxygenated. At the second position of that ribose sugar, the hydroxyl group is present. Now, when this strand is duplicated and that sugar is deoxygenated, at that time the structure obtained or the chains obtained are known as DNA. So, what is meant by DNA? When there are 2 strands of nucleotides and the sugar is deoxygenated. Now, what is the difference between oxygenated sugar and deoxygenated sugar? In case of RNA, the sugar present is oxygenated, which is relatively less stable, as compared to the sugar which is present in the DNA, which is deoxygenated. Now, in case of RNA, the thymine is not present. Instead of thymine, uracil is used as the pyrimidine base. While in case of DNA, the pyrimidine base present are the thymine and cytosine, while purine bases are common in both. So, it was the journey of pyrimidine to purine, purine to nucleoside, nucleoside to nucleotide, then RNA and DNA. Now, we are moving to the next part, that is the translation and transcription. Now, what is meant by transcription? When the copy of DNA is generated or when the RNA strand are synthesized using DNA as a template, that process is known as transcription. Okay, means the formation of RNA molecule or the generation of RNA strand. And the next point is the translation. When that codes of mRNA, okay, or the codes of RNA are converted to any protein, that will be known as the translation. For example, the generation of mRNA with the help of DNA, that is the transcription. And when With the help of this mRNA, the protein molecule is synthesized that will be known as the translation. Okay, so these are the different things: translation and transcription. So these were the basics of nucleus associated components. Now we have to understand the difference between normal human cell and the bacterial cell. The higher animal cells and the plant cell represents the eukaryotic cells, while the bacterial cell are representing the prokaryotic cell. Now we are going to discuss the basics in between the eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. Starting with the outermost part, that is the cell wall. In case of humans, the simple cell membrane is present, while in case of bacteria, the complex cell membrane is present. Now we divide the bacterial cells on the basis of their cell wall properties, that is the gram-positive bacteria and gram-negative bacteria. Apart from that, many cellular organelles such as mitochondria, microtubule or Golgi apparatus are absent in the bacterial cells, which are present in the human cells. Okay, so next one is the nucleus. Well-defined nucleus is present in human cell, but that is absent in case of bacterial cell. So what happens in human? When the cell membrane is crossed, drug have to cross the nuclear membrane also to reach up to the nuclear material. Same thing is not applicable in case of bacteria. Once the outermost cell membrane is crossed, that is sufficient. So don't get confused when we are saying that the intracellular concentration of fluoroquinolones or the drugs are sufficient to affect the DNA of bacteria. Okay? It means because of absence of nuclear wall or absence of well-defined nucleus, these drugs can freely act on those structures. Now moving to the genetic material, the DNA. In case of bacteria, the anchoring proteins are present around which the DNA chains are condensed. In case of humans, the DNA is condensed at the wrapped around one basic protein that is known as the histone. Now the genes. What is meant by genes? Those 10 base pairs or 20 base pair or 100 or 1000 base pairs are known as the gene. Okay, while that complete length of a DNA is known as the genome. In case of human, complete genome is not utilized, means we are not utilizing that complete genome, but in case of bacteria, those cells utilizes their complete genome, means any one part is affected, that is going to affect the bacterial life. Same thing is not applicable in case of humans. Before proceeding ahead, you should know what is meant by base pairs, what is meant by DNA helix. Okay, now DNA helix means that turn. Okay, now look at the screen. This is the rough representation of bacterial genome. Okay, means don't consider exactly like this. Okay, it exists in equilibrium in between the circular form and the sidewise represented form. Okay, now for simplicity, let's consider for a moment that circular form of bacterial DNA. Now listen to me very carefully. Okay, the human DNA is somewhere like this. Okay, I hope you are able to observe the colors here. The yellow color represents one strand and the pink color represents the other strand. Now what happens? This is the normal DNA. Okay, the coilings of DNA around. Okay, this turn is known as the helix. Okay, now what happens in case of bacteria? These turns are linked. Okay, and around the anchoring protein, and this is known as the circular DNA of bacteria. ठीक है, यहाँ तक clear हो गया? Now take a pause. What is meant by circular DNA? When this DNA chains are linked at the end. ठीक है, that is known as the circular DNA. Now अभी यहाँ पे इतना तो clear है कि these coilings are continuous here onward also. ठीक है, ये एक पूरा कंप्लीट सर्कल है जहां पे दोनों भी स्ट्रैंड कॉइल होते हुए आगे कंटिन्यू हो रहे. ओके, नाउ सपोज Now, what happens in the bacterial lifetime or during the generation of circular DNA, one turn is removed. Okay, now demonstrating you. Suppose this yellow wire is cut now and pink also. Okay, there should be helix. Now I am removing the helix and now attach these ends. Okay, so this end, which is also presented over here on the screen, is the stress DNA, and when it was existing its natural state, it represents the relaxed form of DNA. So when the circular DNA in the bacterial lifetime was converting to that condensed form of DNA, okay, with the help of anchoring protein, at that time certain helices are removed, and this creates a tension in that complete bacterial DNA chain. Okay, now what is the solution? The solution is, when these helices are removed, at that time this complete circle, for simplicity consider a circle, this complete circle of DNA coils like this, and this turning is known as the negative supercoiling. Now what is the reason or what is the benefit? The reason is the removal of helices, and benefit is, when you have removed the helix over here, that created a tension, and because of this turning the tension is removed, and this is known as the negative supercoiling. Okay, if it is getting difficult to understand by listening only, take a page and pen and note down the points. So which things you should know? The helix, okay, removal of helix, and as a result what is happening? The negative supercoiling. Okay, यहाँ तक clear हुआ? Okay, for simplicity I am presenting this structure instead of that. Okay, now look at the complete chain. It has 5 negative supercoils. Okay, it is turned 5 times, that complete circle. Okay, this tertiary conformation of DNA strand is known as the DNA topology. Topology refers to the arrangement of material or arrangement of objects. Okay. Now here this DNA has undergone the negative supercoiling intentionally, okay, to relieve the stress on its strands, and this part is known as DNA topology. Okay, the arrangement of DNA strands or the tertiary conformation of DNA strand is known as the topology. There are certain enzymes, okay, or the group of enzymes which controls this tertiary conformation or the topology of DNA. Those enzymes are known as the topoisomerases. Okay, points clear हो रहे? The tertiary conformation is known as the topology, and the enzymes controlling them are known as topoisomerases. Now there are two groups of topoisomerase, or the two types of topoisomerases, type 1 topoisomerases and type 2 topoisomerases. Okay, the examples of type 1 topoisomerases are the topoisomerase 1 and topoisomerase 3, while the examples of type 2 topoisomerases are the topoisomerases 2 and topoisomerases 4. The classification of these two groups of topoisomerases is done on the basis of their biochemical roles and physiological functions. Okay, now we will discuss about the type 1 topoisomerases. I will enlist you few points. Type 1 topoisomerases. Okay, now here examples are topoisomerases 1 and topoisomerases 3. Their role is unwinding of negative supercoils or the unwinding of DNA. Okay, now again look at this structure. There are 5 negative supercoils. What topoisomerases 1 do? They remove the negative supercoiling, and now here is the structure. Instead of 5, now the negative supercoils are 4. So this is the role of topoisomerases 1 and 3, means they belong to the type 1 topoisomerases. Now we are moving to the type 2 topoisomerases group. The role of type 2 topoisomerases is the introduction of negative supercoiling. Now here these enzymes require the ATP, means their working is ATP dependent. I hope you understood the type 1 and type 2 topoisomerases. Basically both topoisomerases group are work by similar mechanism, means they cut the DNA strand, they allows the passage of other DNA strand through them and reseals them, means nicking allows the passage of DNA strand either 1 or 2 and then resealing. Type 1 topoisomerases means topoisomerase 1 and 3 basically cuts only one DNA strand and allows the passage of other DNA strand through them and then later on causes the removal of negative supercoiling, while the same is applicable to the topoisomerases 2 and 4 where they cut both the strands of DNA and allows the double stranded DNA passage through them and reseals the both strands of DNA. Okay, so in this way these enzymes work. How cell division will start? With the replication of DNA. The initiation of DNA replication in circular DNA of bacteria starts with the replication fork, which is presented on your screen. That Y-shaped structure is known as the replication fork. Now again look at this circular DNA. Suppose it is the replication fork created here. Okay, both ends have Y-shaped structure. Now don't get confused that the replication fork will move in this direction only. The replication fork proceeds in both directions. Now just imagine what will happen at the end. On each strand the duplicate strand will be generated, means there are two circular DNA at the end of replication. Here presented on the screen those different two color circles, and those get easily separated and further the cell division will continue. So understand how the replication fork works. Here the DNA helicase enzyme is involved, okay, that separates the DNA strands, and those separated DNA strands are duplicated. Now what happens, at some moment there is the positive supercoiling. Okay, instead of 5 you have done the 4 negative supercoiling with the help of topoisomerase 1, and now here what happens, the movement of replication fork is somewhere stopped due to that positive supercoiling, okay, or the removal of negative supercoiling. And now here the actual role of DNA gyrase or topoisomerase 2 and 4 comes. It introduces the negative supercoiling. As a result, the increased tension over that particular segment of DNA chain is removed, and then the replication fork will begin easily. Okay, so here is the importance of topoisomerase 2 and 4. We will discuss how quinolones or fluoroquinolones inhibit the topoisomerase 2 and 4. Now what happens with the topoisomerase 2 and 4? This cuts the DNA strand, allows the passage of other side DNA strands if it is a circle through that cut part and then reseals them. So that negative supercoiling is introduced, and there the replication fork will ahead or will proceed smoothly. There are two steps of topoisomerase 2 and 4 working. In step 1, the non-covalent interaction occurs in between the enzyme and DNA strand. In this step 1, the DNA strand is cut. Okay, here step 1 ends. In the step 2, that double stranded DNA which is on the other side is allowed to pass through the cut we have made in the one side of strand. Okay, so this passage of DNA is known as the strand passage. Okay, with the help of type 1 topoisomerases the single strand passage occurs, while in case of type 2 topoisomerases the double strand passage of DNA occurs. Now instead of topoisomerases I will use the word DNA gyrase. Okay, now how DNA gyrase works? It works in the two steps. First step involves the non-covalent interaction in between the DNA gyrase and the DNA strand. Okay, means the enzyme interacts with the DNA strand. This interaction is the non-covalent. After the proper interaction, the enzyme cuts the both strands of DNA here. Okay, two chains are there and both chains are cut by the enzyme DNA gyrase. Okay, and here the step 1 ends. Now the step 2. Now here what happens, through the cut made, the other side of DNA strand is allowed to pass through that cut. Okay, and this is known as the double strand passage of DNA. Okay, after the passage, those ends are resealed again, and this is mentioned in the book as nicking followed by resealing, while the actual words are the cleavage of DNA and relegation of DNA. Means suppose this is the, now it was the original DNA strand, now it is cut, and now that U-shaped DNA, whatever the present here, one strand will be pulled here through this cut part, and then after pulling, the strands will be resealed. So how topoisomerase 2 or 4 or DNA gyrase works? It cleaves the DNA, allows the DNA strand passage and relegates it, and thereby what is the result? Introduction of negative supercoil in that complete DNA loop. It is the mechanism of the DNA gyrase working. Okay? And now it will be very much easier to understand how fluoroquinolones act. What are the steps of enzyme working? In the step 1, non-covalent interaction followed by cutting of DNA, that is the DNA cleavage. In the step 2, DNA passage occurs and resealing occurs. Okay? Fluoroquinolones acts at the end of step 1. Means once the DNA strand is cutted, then fluoroquinolone inhibits the further process. Now wait a minute. When this is happening? At the time of replication fork, means at the time of DNA replication. Now if the process of topoisomerases is stopped, the replication fork will not proceed. Okay, means the DNA replication cannot occur, and it is essential for the bacterial survival at that moment. Okay, now how fluoroquinolone inhibits this? At the end of step 1, fluoroquinolone binds to the enzyme and prevents the step 2 working. The replication fork will not proceed ahead and cell division stop, and immediately what happens? The fluoroquinolone enzyme and the DNA complex triggers a pathway which causes the immediate cell death. Okay, and hence these fluoroquinolones are categorized as the bactericidal. Now we are moving to the drugs associated with the quinolones or fluoroquinolones. The first member of quinolone class is the nalidixic acid. It was introduced in the year 1960. The structure is presented over the screen. It is primarily active against the gram-negative bacteria. Most of all the quinolones or the fluoroquinolones are active against the gram-negative bacteria, while some shows the good activity against the gram-positive bacteria also. In case of nalidixic acid, activity is found higher against the gram-negative bacteria. Now, the susceptible microorganisms or the bacteria are E. cocci, Pseudomonas, Klebsiella and the Proteus species bacteria. The target enzyme for the nalidixic acid is DNA gyrase. In the previous section, we have seen how the DNA gyrase is inhibited by the quinolones or fluoroquinolones. The mechanism of action will be same for all the drugs. Then it shows the good oral absorption, and then here is the important points. First important point was the inhibition of DNA gyrase. The mechanism of action is well understood to you now. And the second important point is this concentration in plasma and renal concentration. Most of all the quinolones or fluoroquinolones achieves the higher concentration in the renal system or in the urine, and that is the main reason why these drugs are used for the urinary tract infection. Now here the plasma concentration is relatively lower as compared to the renal concentration. Its half-life is about 8 to 10 hours, and later onward it is excreted by renal route. The uses are, it is used as the urinary antiseptic, means for urinary tract infection, as a second line drug now, because the many suitable or the better drugs are available. Apart from that, it is also applicable in case of diarrhea which is caused by any one of the susceptible bacteria. So it was about the nalidixic acid. Now we are moving to the next subclass of quinolones, that is the fluoroquinolones. So that was about the nalidixic acid. Quinolones and fluoroquinolones are belong to the same class. Okay? Fluoroquinolone is the subclass, while the mechanism of action of both is the same. From the nalidixic acid, okay, the structure presented here, that nitrogen atom which is encircled here is removed. The removal of that 8th position nitrogen and the introduction of the fluoro group at the 6th position led to generation of this subclass, that is the fluoroquinolones. Now take a look on this list, starting with norfloxacin. Now here the actual war or the price war has been started in the pharmaceutical industry. Okay? Now there are cases associated with the ciprofloxacin. You can search on the internet also, the monopoly issue or the patent issue. Now the first member of this first generation fluoroquinolone was the norfloxacin. The patent was given to the Japanese company and it came to the market for therapeutic use in the year 1980 up to the year 1982. The second member was pefloxacin. It is the methylated derivative of norfloxacin. When we are going to discuss these drugs in detail, at that time the sequence will not be same, but you have to recall this. The norfloxacin and its methylated derivative was pefloxacin. Now the next one was the ofloxacin, then ciprofloxacin. Now it is the ciprofloxacin which is widely used and most potent among these first generation fluoroquinolones. The later three members are not mentioned that much more. Okay, enoxaparin, lomofloxacin and nadifloxacin. If you look at the year, the start was done at the 1982 and then the end of first generation is at the 1992. We know that from nalidixic acid to the nadifloxacin or the second generation fluoroquinolone, the mechanism of action involves the DNA gyrase for all. Okay, means the inhibition of topoisomerase 4 or the DNA gyrase. But the actual mechanism of action was revealed, or the correct mechanism of action was invented in the year 1994. Means almost 14 years later the introduction of the quinolone class. And now we will discuss the individual drugs, considering the ciprofloxacin as a prototype. Now we are going to discuss the ciprofloxacin. Okay, there are certain important features of ciprofloxacin. The first one is the minimum inhibitory concentration. This MIC value is found higher in case of in vivo experimentation as compared to that which is originally required to cause the bactericidal effect. Means when you are giving the drug, the concentration required to cause the cell death is relatively lower than we are finding it in the in vivo experimentation we are doing in the lab. Okay, so that was the MIC value point. The second important feature is long post antibiotic effect. Means once the drug has been given and it is moved out of the body, but still the damage it created against the infectious microorganism that remains or that is exists for the longer time, that is known as the post antibiotic effect. The third important feature is it is less active at acidic pH. Now why this point is mentioned? Because we know that the quinolones or fluoroquinolones attains higher concentration in renal, okay, in the urine. So if at that time the pH turns slightly acidic, so its activity will be reduced. So that's why it is important to consider this point, that it is lesser active at the acidic pH. Now the fourth point is it do not affect the intestinal microbial flora. However, it shows the broad spectrum of activity against the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. There is one class of diarrhea which is known as the drug-induced diarrhea, and that occurs due to when the intestinal microbial flora is affected by the given antibiotic. The next point is the low frequency of mutation, means the chances of resistance against the ciprofloxacin are relatively lower. However, there are certain strains which are resistant. For example, the Bacteroides fragilis and the Clostridium species. This shows the resistance against the ciprofloxacin. Then it is active against beta-lactam resistant microorganism and the aminoglycoside resistant microorganisms. The next point is it shows the good oral absorption and excreted renally. Then now its biliary and renal concentration is 10 to 50 times higher as compared to the plasma, and then the CSF concentration is relatively lower than plasma. Now we know that the antibiotic should attain its concentration, or it should have some concentration at the site of infection. So here higher concentration is in the renal fluid or in the biliary concentration, followed by plasma, and at the end CSF. So the best antibiotic effect is observed in these systems in this sequence. Means you can use this drug better at the urinary system, and then followed by second number will be the systemic infection or the GIT, and lastly you can consider the central infection or the infections associated with the nervous system. Okay. The T-half or the half-life of ciprofloxacin is 4 to 6 hours. So these are the important points associated with ciprofloxacin. Just take a revision. MIC value is relatively lower for actual bacterial cell as compared to in vivo experimentation. Long post antibiotic effect, okay, means once you have given the dose, the post antibiotic effect remains for longer time as compared to its T-half. Lesser active at acidic pH. Okay, why this acidic pH point is considered? Because of its renal concentration point. Okay, then it do not affect the intestinal microbial flora. At the same time, it shows the broad spectrum of action against the gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria. Low frequency of resistance. Resistance is found in case of Bacteroides fragilis and Clostridium species. You have to remember these two names. Okay. Then active against those bacteria which shows resistance for beta-lactam antibiotics and aminoglycoside antibiotics. Good oral absorption and excreted by renal route. The concentration in the urinary system, in the biliary system, is relatively higher than that is present in plasma, and the concentration it is achieving in the CSF is relatively lower as compared to the plasma. So this concentration decides its use sequence or its use order. T-half, it is about 4 to 6 hours. So it was about the ciprofloxacin features, and now we are moving to the adverse effect associated with the ciprofloxacin. Now listen to me carefully. First of all, consider the GIT, okay, gastrointestinal tract. Now here intestinal microbial flora is not affected, so chances of drug induced diarrhea will be lower, okay, but nausea and vomiting may occur. So only nausea and vomiting are the adverse effect associated with the GIT. Second side effect or the adverse effect you have to consider is associated with the CNS. Now, even if it shows the relatively lower concentration, but some concentration is there to cause the adverse effect in the CNS. Those adverse effects are restlessness, concentration impairment, and the dexterity. Dexterity means you are not able to perform those activities in which you are skillful. That refers to dexterity. So concentration impairment, okay, then restlessness and dexterity. All these are somewhere associated with the antagonism of GABA. Okay, so these are the CNS adverse effect of ciprofloxacin and also shown by other fluoroquinolones. The next side effect is on the bone or the bone tissue. Here it affects the tendon and causes the tendinitis or tendon rupture. Now the ciprofloxacin or fluoroquinolones should be stopped immediately if tendon rupture like symptoms appear. Now the first symptoms will be the pain or the inflammation at the tendons. For example, the image shown here. Okay. Now the chances of tendinitis or tendon rupture is more in case of patients having the age above 60 or those who are taking corticosteroids from the long time. So these are the adverse effect of ciprofloxacin. Now the interaction. In case of interaction, we have to recall the effects on the CNS. What are the effects? Those are GABA antagonistic effect. First one, restlessness, concentration impairment and dexterity. Now here NSAIDs and theophylline along with fluoroquinolone may cause the seizure or it may cause the precipitation of seizure. Okay, it is the first interaction of fluoroquinolone. And the second one is when you are giving this drug orally, okay, at that time if simultaneously antacids or iron salts are given, then there is a chances of reduced oral absorption. Who is going to reduce the absorption of fluoroquinolone? Iron salts or antacids or sucralfate. These three may cause the reduction in oral absorption of fluoroquinolones. And now we are moving to the uses of ciprofloxacin. There is a wide range of use of ciprofloxacin. Here is the list. Now we are going to discuss the uses of ciprofloxacin. Starting with the first use, that is the against urinary tract infection. Now the chances of urinary tract infection are naturally more in case of women as compared to men's. Okay, so here it is presented. Men's have lesser susceptibility toward the urinary tract infection as compared to the women's, and this is because the anatomy of urinary system. Now among the women, those women who are normal are relatively lesser susceptible as compared to the women who are diabetic, and now here the reason is the urine composition. Okay, so I hope you understood this vital piece of information. Now moving to the next part, urinary tract infection or the urinary tract infection is refers to infection in any part of urinary system, means from the urethra. It could include the nephron or the terminal part of nephron also. Okay. Sorry. Now, when the infection associated with the kidney, the name given as pyelonephritis. When infection associated with the bladder, the name given is the cystitis. When the infection associated with the urethra, the name given is urethritis. Okay. Now, the symptoms are pelvic pain. The picture is presented here. Second one is increased urge to urinate. Third symptom is pain while urination and bleeding at the time of urination, means appearance of blood in the urine. Okay, so these three are important symptoms of urinary tract infection. Considering the general knowledge or as a part of the health system, this information part and specifically this one is very important. Now, these are the symptoms. Apart from fluoroquinolones, cotrimazole are the preferred medication for urinary tract infection. But the cure rates observed with the ciprofloxacin are higher as compared to the cotrimazole. So, ciprofloxacin is preferred drug. So, it is everything about the urinary tract infection. And now we are moving to the next use. Now, the second use of ciprofloxacin is the gonorrhea. It is an example of sexually transmitted disease, means the infection or the chances of infection more at the time of sexual activity with the infected person. Now, the causative organism is the Neisseria gonorrhea. There are two types of Neisseria gonorrhea on the basis of their response toward drugs. These are penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhea, the abbreviated as PPNG. The second type is non-penicillinase producing Neisseria gonorrhea. So you can understand this PPNG will be resistant toward the penicillins. The infection site is mostly the genital organs. It causes the burning sensation while at the time of urination. Then the fluid discharge which occurs from the infected genitals, that is the symptom. Then if not cured rapidly, it may spread to the other body parts or the tissues. Now we are moving to the next use, that is the chancroid. The causative organism for chancroid is the Haemophilus ducreyi. Then it is also an example of sexually transmitted disease. Means its infection occurs at the time of sexual activity with the infected person, but it also possesses the probability of skin to skin transmission. Now here the sores are created on or around the genital organs of infected person. Now the image of sore is presented here. Now the sore means that bump created on the skin. Now when the sore breaks, at that time the fluid discharge occurs from that bump part or the sore part, and that discharge forms the basis of diagnosis of chancroid. Means on the basis of appearance of sore only we cannot decide whether that is a chancroid or not. Now for proper diagnosis, that discharge need to be collected and microbiologically tested, and then only the diagnostic confirmation of chancroid is done. Now what happens when that sore or that bump part on the skin breaks? At that time the ulcers are created over there, and those ulcers are known as the chancroid, and that's why the name given to this disease is the chancroid. Now ciprofloxacin is the second live drug. Now it is alternative to the ceftriaxone or azithromycin. Now the next use we have to study is the respiratory tract infection. So it is our routine diseases. Okay? Not this one, not this. Okay? It is generally we face in the college time, right? Especially when there is a winter season. Okay? Now the respiratory tract infection is divided into two parts: upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. Now here what happens when the infection associated with these parts is known as upper respiratory tract infection, and when the infection reaches to the lower part of the respiratory system, which are more serious. These are known as lower respiratory tract infection. Okay. Once any infection reaches to the lower respiratory part, at that time its cure becomes somewhat difficult and complications increases. Now, these are the parts of upper respiratory tract. The first one is the sinus. When infection occurs in the sinus or inflammation also, that is known as the sinusitis. When infection associated with the nasal passage or nasal tract, it is known as the rhinitis. And these two are the easy. If associated with pharynx, we have to use the word pharyngitis. When associated with larynx, that is known as the laryngitis. Now, the lower respiratory tract infection. Here, the bronchi and the next part are involved. The diseases are, or the infections are, or the infectious conditions are bronchitis, pneumonia, and tuberculosis. Now here, the ciprofloxacin is not used as a primary drug. It is reserved for that purpose. The next use is the bacterial gastroenteritis. Now here, the infection causes nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. For that, the ciprofloxacin is used, but its use is reserved for the serious cases. I hope you understood these 4 to 5 important uses. Now here onward, the remaining uses you have to prepare, because only the enlisting is needed here, such as the meningitis. We know that ciprofloxacin can cross the blood-brain barrier and it can achieve some concentration in cerebrospinal fluid. That's why it can be used in case of meningitis and other things like that.